Sitting on a swing. I am very late today getting on my Facebook Live here. I had a reading that went over, so I was unable to be here on time. But I wanted to just definitely come on here because I said I'd be here on 1. One of the things I want to, I'll give it a couple minutes before I start talking about anything too exciting. So let's just see here. And you can see the lovely backyard. Beautiful, lovely backyard at the moment. Hi, Miranda. Nice to see you on here. I am late for a very important date. No worry, Timothy. I actually didn't do one last week, so that explains why you didn't see it. It's because I didn't do one. Last week was, it was, hi Hiba. Good to have you on here. Last week was, hey Jay. Last week Eileen was here, and it was just way too busy and there was too much going on, so we didn't end up doing a Facebook Live, and there was just so much happening, so we just opted to not do that. I didn't want to put her under any extra stress because we had such a busy schedule and then she wasn't feeling very well, and so we weren't able to do one. So really, you didn't miss anything, so that's just fine. So, I guess I will begin since I have some of my lovely people following. Hello, Alan. Welcome. So, I'm very excited because I just had Eileen here. And as you all know, I absolutely love and adore her. And for those of you who were there, you know how awesome she is. And I think she fulfilled my expectation I put on her as far as what she is capable of, because she was amazing. To answer your question, Hiba, she actually didn't go home. She went to Canada, so she's in Canada for 2 weeks. So that's where she'll be. But I guess now less than 2 weeks, but she'll be there another week, but in Vancouver. So those of you who were there, I'm sure you all got to see how amazing she was, and how fabulous, what an amazing speaker she is, what an amazing medium she is. She's a teacher, everything. She's fabulous. So for those of you who were not able to come to that, you get to still see a little bit of her. So for those of you who were not able to make it, you can, and I'll link it in there when I go back to edit the video caption thing, but you can watch Eileen's talk that she did at the Center for Spiritual Living in San Clemente. You can watch her talk, and it's a beautiful, inspiring talk that I would definitely recommend. And then also on James Von Prague's podcast, she recorded an episode. So if you go to wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcast, literally anywhere you get podcasts, you can find Psychic Insights for the Modern World. And there's an episode where I'm on there as well. And but more importantly, there's an episode where Eileen's on there, and she's absolutely fabulous. So I mean, she did an amazing job, so I highly recommend. If you didn't get to see her while she was here, you can still see something of what she does, which I think is very, very exciting. So please know that. We did demonstrations, or she did demonstrations, and she did workshop, and she'll be back next year. So that's another opportunity to probably get to see her. The other thing is where you can see her is at the Arthur Findlay College, which I think is a really awesome place, because then you get to work with her for a week, so that's really cool. So that's Eileen. I wanted to also come on here to let you know about that I am finally going to be doing things online. for like classes and workshops and things like that. So if you have wanted to work with me and you wanted to develop and have me kind of coach and guide you, I'll be doing a weekly mediumship class that you'll be able to just pop in on and observe and watch and experience and participate. And that'll be through Zoom. And then if you wanted to do, so that's number one. So there's going to be a lot more Zoom classes coming. So there'll be workshops, few hour workshops where we cover different topics of mediumship, which is going to be really, really exciting. And then there'll be a one weekly like spirit circle type thing. So we'll be doing a meditation, and then we'll be doing some sort of exercise. And obviously I'm new with the internet teaching, that sort of thing. And I really want to see if I like it, because that's super important. I want to know that I like it. I want to know that I feel like you guys are getting the benefit from it, rather than, because for me, it doesn't matter what I'm doing. But for me, as long as you guys are getting something out of it and you guys are growing and learning, that's what's important to me. So I will be doing that. So for those of you who are not nearby or who can't come to California, you will get the opportunity to develop and learn. The other thing that I'm very excited to share is that I've had so many people asking me about mentoring and a mentorship program. And I have been working very hard and creating a mentorship program that I will be excited to share in the upcoming future. I will probably be launching that in September, so that's probably when it will begin. And I'm really excited about this. I'm still kind of just ironing out exactly how I want it to run. But the idea is basically taking you from the beginning stages of development. And even if you already are a working medium today, it's always good to go back to the basics. The basics, one of the most profound spiritual experiences I've ever had was in doing one of the most basic exercises, or what one might think is just a very simple basic exercise that took me from believing to knowing the reality of spirit and its existence and my connection to it. So I don't think there's ever any danger in going back to check out the deeper levels of what you can experience, because no matter where you are, your awareness is going to be different each time you do an exercise, and you're going to have a different experience each time you do an exercise, because you're in the new moment. You're a new person. Just having had the experience before, you're in a new place. So whether you are brand new to all of this or whether you are a seasoned medium, I want to take you through the program, how I think mediumship should be focused. Now, I haven't come up with a name of what the program is, but the theme of the program is basically going to be the spiritual medium. I think that for so many people today, we have really put too much focus on the message, and we've really lost the spirituality of mediumship. And I think that it's super important for us, those of us who want to do mediumship, to really remember and learn what mediumship is really about. It's not about just proving survival, though that's a huge part of it, but really mediumship should bring you to a deeper understanding of your own spiritual nature. And it's that deeper understanding of this nature that I think is the real part of it. So if we think back to our pioneers of mediumship in the past, they were very much, they didn't have an Arthur Findlay, they didn't have a school, they didn't have a place where they could go. But what they did have was an understanding of the power, and they had an understanding of the desire to commune and connect with the spirit world, to commune and connect with their own spirit, their own power and energy. And when they did this, they eventually had phenomena occur. So whether that's physical phenomena or the phenomena of communication, phenomena occurred when they came together in love and harmony, and the desire to connect with the spirit that's when they got to see amazing things happen. And it didn't come from, oh, I want to be a platform medium. It didn't come from, oh, I want to be this kind of medium and be famous. It came from, I want to understand my own spiritual nature. What exists within me? What are my own gifts? What can be unfolded if I hand over my desire to the other world and just allow them to guide me. And also understand your own nature, your own soul's purpose. That is really what mediumship should be about. It's not about I want to be famous. What I think has happened in modern mediumship. Sorry, I'm sitting in a hammock, so I'm like rocking slightly, so I will stop because I don't want you guys to get dizzy. What I think has happened in modern mediumship is that it's moved away from the spiritual aspect of it and moved more into the realms of entertainment. And I think also too, Eileen had mentioned too, is that's when I spoke with her, that's also something that you can see the difference between like the UK mediums versus the American mediums. UK mediums, it's a religion, it's spiritualism, it's sacred, it has its sacredness. And and that's not to say that there aren't, people who are just out there for their ego and all that sort of thing in the UK. That's very, very much, I'm not saying that. But you can see the difference in the quality and in the sacredness of mediumship between the two for this exact reason. That here in America, it's about entertainment. It's about being on a TV show. It's about, let's go do this on a fun Friday night as a fun activity. Let's go connect and watch someone be a medium. Whereas for our pioneers, for those in the past, it was about connecting with their spirit. It was about connecting with the power and God and the universe and seeing what was possible by just connecting in love and harmony together. So that is the backbone, I would say, of my development program, of my mentoring program. That it's not about just getting messages and just getting, psychic information or mediumship. It's going to be about understanding your own self first, understanding your own awareness of your own power and energy, understanding your own spiritual nature, and then moving into things like the psychic. And how can you understand this? How can you feel and know the power? How do you know when it's coming? Because ultimately, the power is the thing that dictates everything in this process. Without the power, you're just drawing things psychically. You're drawing things from other things. But when you can feel the power, you know and realize the reality of spirit. And when you can feel the power, you can then, it impacts you in some way. And as it impacts you, it tells you the information you need to know. So it's never a guessing game. It's never, I'm trying to fish or find or ask a question. It's about experiencing what you're experiencing and let that be the thing that moves you forward, that moves and informs the message. So that's really what I want to develop with any of my students. It's about moving your awareness into this other space, understanding your own spirit and your own spiritual nature, and understanding how the power impacts you. I am very, very excited. It's going to be 3 levels that are progressive. So you take 1, and then you take 2, and then you take 3. And I think it's super important for you to take all of them because each one is going to be unfolding aspects of yourself as a person, aspects of your own mental awareness, your own psychic awareness, and your own mediumistic awareness. And so I'll go into more details as soon as I have those details and have kind of put them out in a digestible format. But I'm very, very excited. So each section of the mentorship will be the first 2 levels will be 6 months each. So you'll be working with me for 6 months on one, section, which includes 4 different topics of personal awareness and of psychic awareness and mediumship and different things. There'll be groups. There will be practicing, 3 times a session. There will be lectures. There will be homework. There will be question and answers. There's going to be all kinds of things. And then I'm also going to offer as well in-person workshop that will be included in the price that you pay. So we'll do an in-person workshop, especially for level 1, just one time. But that way you're getting both the in-person experience and also the online work. So I'm very, very excited. Like, this is probably the thing I'm most excited about, more than anything else that I'm doing at the moment. Even though I love what I do, I'm excited to get to work with a selected group of people that I think are going to be able to, if you want to, obviously, it's up to you. But other than that one, the mentorship, I will be also doing other online classes, because I've had so many of you reach out to me. Do you do online classes? Do you do online classes? Do you do online classes? And the answer has always been no up until this point. Now that is not the case. So I'm very excited, and I'm really hoping that those of you who are interested will join me. But again, I'm going to be doing online classes coming up, so that's probably going to be in the next month or so. But for the actual mentorship program, that's going to be not launched till September. So you'll get a little bit more about that. And so one of the other things that I was very much aware of over this last week, and what I got to see so much with my students and Eileen's students, because obviously we're working together, what I loved about the group that we had was they were so willing to be supportive of one another. They were so willing to help each other and support each other, and everyone wanted everyone else to do very, very well. There was no egos, and this had like 52 people in it. The fact that there was 52 people in a room and no one was trying to outbest each other, no one was trying to show off, everyone was just being open to the experience and being supportive to one another was incredible. So definitely, if you were there, thank you so much for bringing such a beautiful and amazing energy to the group, to all of it, because without that, it's really not, the spirit doesn't work as well. I mean, obviously I think that, Eileen brings her own sort of power and energy, and I think that really, really helps as well. But I'm very, very happy with everyone who did come, so thank you to that. One of the things I noticed too is that the biggest thing that I think blocks people in their work and when they are working with the spirit world is oftentimes has to do with the wanting to get it right. So that's number one. And then also putting pressure on ourselves, and then trying. So those are definitely like trying to get information. And I think that that's very much something to look at within your own mediumship, within your own, how you're working. Where, when I'm working, am I trying to get information? What we have to learn to develop, again, as I've said many times before, is that passivity, that ability to just be receptive to what's coming to us. Not so much, and this is what I see a lot with people, they try to have a fully fledged or fully understood concept right out the gate, rather than allowing their experience and describe their experience. Does that make sense, what I'm saying there? So what's important to do when you're working mediumistically is to have an awareness of what you're experiencing and describe that to whoever you're working with. It's not about saying, especially in the beginning, particularly in the beginning stages of your development, it's not about you coming up with this fully fledged idea like, oh, this is this person, or oh, he did this in his life. In the beginning, it's about describing the experience that you're having, and eventually that will be all you're doing, except now you'll know what it means as you go along. But it's really about just describing the experience. What is the experience that you're having? Some people are going to be, for example, let's say I was going to sit and do this. First things first I would do is quiet and still my mind, because I've developed that ability through sitting in the power regularly. I know what I need to, where and how I need to get to that place of stillness, that place of calm, that place of receptivity. And because I have an awareness of my own spiritual awareness, I know where my mind is and where it needs to be able to do this sort of thing. I can give myself time and take note of when I know I'm ready to now open up my awareness to the other world. So that's a big thing that I think a lot of people don't do. A lot of people will just jump straight into a communication and just be like, okay, I have this person here, da 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 da. But realize that communication with the other world requires attunement. You have to attune your awareness to the power and the presence that is first you, your own power and energy, becoming sensitive to the power. And then what you would want to do is then allow yourself to open to the impressions of what is around you. And as these impressions come, they may begin as subtle, they may begin as small, they may be, I just feel a tingle, I just feel a warmth, I just feel a buzz. But one of the things that happens in a communication is that it builds. It doesn't just go from 0 to 100, it builds. So as you are experiencing the other world's presence, it's going to start off as this little small thing, until you've obviously developed it, and then it can be a lot stronger right away. But it might feel like a tingle, it might feel a warmth, it might be a buzz. What you want to do then is you want to describe that experience. Okay, I'm becoming aware of this pressure here on my neck. And as I become aware of this pressure here on my neck, I notice that it changes in this way, or it changes in that way. And it's the changes from one state to another that is what you're describing. As you feel those changes from one state to another, that's actually the information that the other world's trying to give you. Does that make sense? So as you are feeling those changes, you want to describe those changes, because what will happen is as you talk about it, it should build, it should change, it should deepen, it should transform. And then that's when you're able to get more information, because then suddenly you're going to become aware that, oh, this feels like a man, or oh, this feels like a woman, right? And so as you start to do that, you will just relax into it. One of the things that I think blocks us too when we're trying to do this is we get a little bit too much into trying, right? We're like looking for it, like I want to get it, I want to find it. What is this? It's not about trying. We don't go get information. That's not what we do. We don't go seek it out. A medium experiences, a medium feels, and then describes. That's really one of the most important things. So don't put pressure on yourself as you're beginning to connect, that you need to have it all understood right away. It's about a progressive unfoldment that will deepen as you relax into it, as you move into the communication, and it will start to, as like I can tell you with 100% certainty, the very beginning of a communication is very different from the middle and end of a communication. It's so much more clear. As you get your yeses from your participant, you're going to feel that intensity grow, because now everyone's involved, the spirit person, the sitter, and yourself, the medium. So just know that don't put pressure on yourself to have it all be fully fleshed out, that you need to understand how it is from the beginning. It builds through the communication. I like to think of it as like, you know, those cartoons where there's a hole in the boat, and like they put like a cork in it, and then they take the cork out, and then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then there's this huge flood of water that's coming into it. That's like a communication. You begin to feel them very, very tiny, and then as you pull the cork out, more and more information comes, which is also why when you start to feel something, you don't want to wait too long. Because I know a lot of people, they'll just start to sit in their head and be like, well, is that me? Is that not me? I don't know. Is that even it? Like, it's supposed to be something else. No, it's supposed to be that very subtle change, and just describe that change, because that will begin. It's like a wave. If you miss the wave, you're going to miss the wave, and then you're going to miss the flow of information. But if you begin to talk about it as you become aware of it, and you just get on right at the top, not immediately, just you become aware of it, you start to feel it be strong, and then boom, now you start talking about it. Otherwise, you're going to miss it. And as you talk about it, it will deepen, it'll unfold. Because otherwise, if you hold on to it, you're going to get psychic constipation, as I call it. The energy has nowhere to go, so it just falls flat. It's taking more energy from the spirit world to try to push through you not speaking, and that's going to weaken the communication. So it's so important for you to to do that. So I'm going to open it up to questions now. I hope that was a helpful little tidbit here for you about mediumship and how it works, because I know that for a lot of people that is a big thing that blocks. It's some of the things that I see a lot, and people are so attached to the pictures and the images that they get. I'm telling you that the mediumship is the art of feeling, and the more that you can develop your ability to feel the other world before you work with pictures, the stronger and clearer your communications will be. So I just really want to highlight that and really emphasize that to you, that's where you want to begin. So any questions? Let's see. Thank you, Carly, for that lovely comment. Let me just see this. Hi, Beatrice. So nice to see you. Jay, I'm glad that helped you. I hope I'm saying your name right, Jay. Let's see. Can you draw the spirit close again if they start to fade away? Absolutely. The whole reason that the spirit world feels like they're fading away is because your mind is probably coming in, or you're observing the information, or your awareness, because they're not actually the ones fading away. It's your attention that's changing. It's your focus that's changing. So you want to allow yourself, obviously if this is the beginning of a communication, you got to just go back to that relaxed state and that neutral state and let them impress you. Because what happens so much, and I'm guilty of doing this too sometimes, is when you start to feel the presence, and then you have an experience. This is what I see people do all the time. They'll take that experience and then they'll just run with that experience. They'll use that and really circle around that and then try to build things off of it. But really you want to relax into that so that you get the next bit of information, and then that can then now tell you even more about what the spirit person is talking about. Don't try to understand the information as it's coming. Just give the information and then be open again to the next bit that's coming in. Hopefully that answers your question, Hiba. Let's see. Jay says, yes, I'm realizing that I don't need to figure anything out before saying it. Makes sense what you said. Say it and let it build. Absolutely. If you do that, it's going to be a lot easier. Just talk about your experience as it's happening. People too much want to have it all figured out because they see mediums who've been working for a long time and they go, yeah, I have your father here, I have your mother here, I have this here, and I know that he did this, 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 and this. It's about moving into the flow, and the hardest part of a communication is the beginning. That's the hardest part, because it's you're like have to get into it. Once you're into it, then it's like boom, 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 boom. And be open to the spirit world changing the way in which they show you the information throughout. So you might feel it really strong at first in the beginning. And what I always do is I always want to keep the feeling with me. If I get too much into the pictures, that can then put the spirit person away from me, or at least it feels that way. You want to keep that feeling with you, and through the feeling combined with maybe a picture, or the feeling combined with maybe a sound, that's what's going to be really, really helpful for you as far as that goes. So yeah, that's definitely helpful. Any other questions? Things that maybe you feel you are stuck in? Any questions about anything I've discussed so far? I'm happy to answer them. What time is it? Waiting on you to ask a question. If the connection starts to fade when getting a no, etc., can we get back to spirit by repeating what we already got? Definitely, that is a technique that you can use. Someone gives you a no, but remember, the connection is fading not because of the no. The connection is fading because your awareness is changing. So because you got a no, that's throwing you a little bit, and so now you're starting to get into your head, or you're starting to worry, or something like that. So you don't want to do that. If you get a no, you just take the no and go, okay, offer it back to the other world and see what they want to, if maybe you just misunderstood it, maybe you misinterpreted it, maybe your mind did something to it. So offer back to the other world and say, I mean, not obviously, you don't want to think this, but you just want to intend it, if you can understand what I mean by that. And you just say, okay, maybe I didn't understand that right, so let me just keep moving. Don't get stuck on a no, just keep moving with it, because if it's important, they'll bring it back later in the little conveyor belt. But if you find, oh, this is really slowing down, this is really not ramping up, I'm really gotten into my head, what's going to help you is if you start to say yes, or start to get yeses. So you can do, okay, so you would understand that this would be your grandfather, and your grandfather would have, had gray eyes and worked in the military. They're giving you, yes, I can understand that. And then you're like, okay, you can understand that they would have been married 3 times in their life. Yes, I can understand that. And those yeses are kind of bringing you back. But as you're re-giving this information, stay open to new information coming in. And as soon as that new information comes in, then you just start talking about it. Okay. So you're really just using that, going over that information just to get that flow back going, because sometimes with no's, that can be throwing you, or it can be throwing the individual who's there, especially in the beginning. You really want to get a lot of yeses in the beginning, so that way when a no does come, if it does come, you can just kind of brush it off and just be like, okay, that's fine. 1 no is fine. I don't mind that. I usually say you get one a reading. If you get 1 a reading, that's for me, at least. That's my standard. I'm like, I don't want more than 1 no for me. But, if it happens, it happens. It's not a big deal. If you start getting repeated no's, then you're getting, off track, and that you need to kind of just refocus, allow yourself to just go back to, what am I feeling? Where is that presence of that spirit person? So, good question. Hopefully that answers that. Any other questions? I don't know how long I've been doing this for. Why do addictions have such a strong hold over people? Yeah, well, it's a chemical thing, isn't it? Addictions are really, really tough. There's definitely a genetic component to addiction, and I think that, we really, it's a chemical thing, it's a brain thing, and some people just have that sort of addictive gene in them, and I think that it's very, very challenging, because also the substances are very, very addiction, and we could talk about how that plays out, in the person's life, like what's missing that maybe the addiction is trying to kind of help them with, not help them, but you know what I mean, like they're using it as a substitute for other coping skills. So that's a really, really challenging thing. So yeah, that's really, really challenging. Let me see what else we have here. As a new student, I find it difficult for me to know whether I'm using my psychic abilities or my medium abilities. How can I tell for sure? Yeah. Especially in the beginning, it might be a little bit tricky, because you're still learning to feel all of these different experiences and sensations. What I think makes the biggest difference is once you start to feel the power, that's when you know. The power is a very palpable experience. It's, a lot of people talk about feeling ramping up, or heat, or something going on within them. It's like some people feel a pressure, some people feel an excitement, some people feel like a lifting, some people feel tingles, some people feel chills. There's all kinds of things. It's a very visceral, like physical experience. When I'm working mediumistically, that's what I feel. When I'm working psychically, it's very much this sort of moving my awareness into something without necessarily feeling that intense build. You may feel like an expansiveness, you may feel this sense of higher awareness or something when you're working psychically, but I think it has very much to do with the feeling of it. How does it feel? So developing your ability to feel and discern through the power of feeling, I think, is going to make a big difference. The other thing is intention. So if you're intending to work with the spirit, and assuming you can sense the spirit, I think that that's going to make a big difference as well. Being able to feel, okay, here's the presence of spirit versus here's not the presence of spirit. Does that make sense? Because those things feel like 2 very different things. So it's just a matter of developing your ability to discern and feel what the difference is. It's just about experience, really. So just keep practicing and just allowing yourself to feel, basically. Any last questions as we go? Would the only way to connect to a specific spirit for a sitter be by holding an item that belonged to them? No, you could. I've seen people do that. The only danger is really the spirit world will only come forward if they want to come forward. If that's something that they want to do, if that's something that they're capable of doing. I generally don't do that. I will not, because I don't want to direct the spirit. I don't want to tell spirit, here's who needs to come forward. But it's the intention from the sitter that they're asking for that person to come forward. If they want to come forward, then they will. You can do, the tricky thing about holding an item to then tune into, the spirit person is you could end up working psychically and just getting all the information about this spirit person psychically through the act of psychometry and holding that energy and that spirit. So now you're working with the psychic rather than the mediumistic. So it's so much about letting the other world bring to you who wants to communicate. What I often find is if someone wants to speak to someone, for me personally, this isn't a rule or anything, I find that it's usually the second person that they want to communicate. So if someone's like, oh, I really want to hear from this person, I almost always, for me, I've noticed in my readings, it's almost always the second person that communicates. So someone comes in to open the door. Think about it. A lot of people have a lot of expectation or desire or angst about what they're about to do. And so sometimes having someone else that they don't have all this anxiety or this intense feeling around coming forward first helps to kind of open them and give them a vibration where they can then now come forward and communicate clearly. So I do know of people who say that they can, ask for, get whoever it is specifically that you want to speak with. The danger with that is just that you may be working psychically rather than the spirit person being there. But spirit tends to be pretty obliging, and they'll usually come as far as I've seen. But there's rare cases where that person doesn't come forward, in my experience. So just intending. Because remember, it's the love that brings spirit. So if you have love and you focus on that love and you invite those in the other world to step forward, they will. I've noticed they almost always come forward. Any last questions before I go? Yeah, no problem, Heba. Okay, I'm just going to give you just a couple more moments. So if you're typing them out, type it fast. Okie dokie, my sweet lovelies, then I'm going to go, but if I miss one of your questions, feel free to just put it in the comments and I'll try to answer it later. So thank you so much for being there. Hey Kelly, before I leave, thank you so much for joining. I appreciate all of you being here and taking note of my little corner of the world, and I hope that you found some of the information helpful. If you are interested in any of the online things, just leave a comment below so that when I do start putting that out there, I'll know that you were interested, and I can then, remember. So thank you so much. You all are so lovely and amazing, and I really appreciate it. Please like my page so you know when this is happening again. And feel free to share it with any of the groups that you're a part of or anything like that. So more information to come, but I'm just glad I got to connect with you guys. Lots of love to all of you, and I'll speak to you soon. Okay, bye.